big things I've learned from these races is the ability to reset and reframe challenges. I've always pushed myself to never stop. In these races, you will come across obstacles that you didn't expect. And so you learn to better handle those. And when you find those new gears, you just find a new sense of energy, a new level for yourself.
So that was the end of the story. Let me rewind you back to the beginning. I want to thank Michael Palmer. I want to thank all of you for having me at your conference today. Let me rewind you to where the story started. When I was 6 years old, there was a young man named Terry Fox, and he lost his leg due to cancer. He was about 18 at the time. And when he was in the hospital, he was looking around at other young kids, 6 and 8 and 10 years old, and they were losing hope. And he thought to himself, what can I do with just one leg? Very powerful question. And so he started to think about a North Star vision. And the vision was to run from the East Coast of Canada to the West Coast of Canada on one leg. So first he had to learn how to walk. And then he had to learn how to run 1 mile at a time, 2 and 5 and 10, until he could actually run a full marathon. And then he really set out on his big North Star. And he started to run a marathon every day. He started in the morning, 5 a.m. He'd run 8, 10 miles. And then he'd have a nap and he'd have something to eat. And then he'd run another 10, 12 miles in the afternoon. And he ran day after day for 143 days, which is 3,300 miles or 5,400 kilometers, the distance from New York City to Los Angeles, plus 400 miles. Until unfortunately, Terry died. Terry was my first real mentor. He'd be 62 this year if he was still alive. And Terry has inspired millions of Canadians and global citizens around the world. His cancer foundation has almost raised $1 billion for cancer research. And a couple of things that I learned from Terry were to see crisis as opportunity and to play the long game. So those are a couple of things that we're going to talk about today. Now, I also had another challenge in 2008. And at the time, 2009. In 2008 was the financial crisis. And coming out of that, I was in sales. It was tough. It was tough for a lot of people. And my mentor at the time said, look, I've been through this before. I want you to get away, go do something hard, connect deep with nature, and then give back. And he said, I have a suggestion for you. I've done this. Go to Kilimanjaro, try and do that climb. Go on a safari, connect with nature, and then give back to a local school that I gave back to and have now set up a foundation for. So I did. My friend's name is Todd. We've been friends for a long time, and I followed his path. So in 2009, I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. But you know what? I almost quit 3 times. At one point, I got sick, had a stomach bug, and I was sweating, going for 10 hours during the day and just putting one foot in front of the other. Literally left foot, right foot, 10,000 times. But I made it. And when we came down, we went to the Ngorongoro crater and had the great opportunity to see the Big Five, including the lion, which was just unbelievable. And then I went to the village in Tanzania that Todd had recommended. And by the time I got there, they'd already started to build out some of the classrooms. So I got to see where the money was going. And I brought a big duffel bag of books and toys and tennis balls. And I remember giving the tennis ball to this one little boy. And he grabbed it and he bounced it on the ground and he caught it in his hand. And the smile on his face was just so amazing. That crystallized everything for me. Really just that trifecta of learning and a secret sauce for me that I wanted to take back with me into the work world. And then I knew that I could rebound. So I was looking for the next great adventure. And in 2011, a friend of mine said, we're going to join this race, an organized race called Racing the Planet. He had done 3 of these before. said, we're going to take 9 other Canadians and we are going to enter this race and you should come with. He said, I know you've run a marathon. He said, you can do this. 6 days, 160 miles or 250 kilometers. And every day you have to run a marathon. You have to wear everything on your back that's self-sustained up to 25 pounds. And it got up to about 115 degrees Fahrenheit or 40 degrees Celsius. And halfway through that race, I just really felt mentally overwhelmed. I just felt like I couldn't do it anymore. And so this was me snapping a picture of myself. And some people think you're like, oh, you're cool. You're in the desert. But this was the exact moment that I decided I was going to take myself out of the race. It was a big moment of regret that I always remember. It was my Facebook picture for 2 years. I did not want to forget how that felt. But I knew I had a choice. And the choice was, would I put my feet up back at the hotel in Cairo and wait for the others? Or would I try and learn? Would I volunteer? Would I help? Would I try and figure out the scaffoldings for how I could finish this race in the future? And that's what I did. And I saw incredible, awesome bouts of courage and just grit and perseverance to push to the finish line. So most of my teammates finished. And so I knew that I saw, and so I could potentially do again in the future. So in 2012, I decided I was going to go to the Gobi Desert in China. And before I went to that race, I talked to my running mentor and I said, look, I understand the race in China is harder. You go up to 10,000 feet of elevation. What advice do you have for me? And he said, look, you're going to run through really hot sand areas and these old ancient riverbeds and stones, small stones, medium stones, large stones, and they're pure ankle breakers. And if you don't accept that that is your path to success, you're not going to make it. That will be your path to the finish line. And if you visualize your way through all the obstacles, by the time you actually hit the obstacles, you'll be halfway to your goal. And it's only a week long. And so I took that mantra on, and this is a picture of going up near the Kunlun mountain ranges and up to that 10,000 feet. There's a specific point in the race where I got overloaded and just overheated. And I realized that moving forward for 5 minutes at a time, I felt good. And the next 5 minutes, I felt poor, and back and forth. And I quickly realized that if I didn't accept that I was going to have to string together 500 segments of 5 minutes, I wasn't going to finish the race. And so I took his advice, and that's what got me to the finish line. I think I finished in the last 10 of that race, but a finish for me was a finish. And I was really proud of getting to that finish line. So, what did I learn? What did I learn in that race? One of the things I want to share with everyone is I learned about potential. So everyone has a certain capacity. When you layer on the right mindset, when you layer on resourcefulness, and I found myself wandering in the middle of the night in the desert when I was getting to the end of my rope asking, what's the learning opportunity here? What can I do to chunk out this race going forward? Those powerful questions that was helping me be more resourceful and find more reserve in the tank. And then, just of course, a lot of suffering in training. And in that, I found in this reserve 40% more in the tank than I thought was possible. And there's science that shows that a lot of people that take on these type of adventures or different types in sports find that extra reserve. So I'm here to tell you that it's there. I want you to know that it's there and that you can find it. So I've been very fortunate to run through races all over the world, from Iceland to Antarctica in 2016, which is one of my favorite races, from Chile to China. Chile in the stars under the Atacama sky was most incredible. And I actually just got back from Death Valley a couple weeks ago in California. Just really, really incredible. And so some of the things that I want to share with you are to share some of the questions that I think about and others think about that have been really helpful. And the first one I want you to think about, and this will be an exercise, we'll give you a minute in order to take this down on a notepad on your iPhone, in a task pad. That's great as well. 2 questions. What are the obstacles that I need to overcome to achieve my objectives in 2022? And what are the weekly wobblers or obstacles that may get in my way? Those things you need to accept, those stones that you need to accept. So I'm going to give you a minute in order to answer these questions, and then we'll come back and we'll keep going. Got about 30 seconds left. All right, we're going to start to wrap that up. All right, now we're going to go to our next set of questions. So I find building out morning routines is very important. A lot of people that I study in the world that are high achievers, have specific morning routines. And you can bracket a morning routine with a end of day routine. And I want to talk to you about that in a second as well. So building morning routines, and I'm going to give you another minute to go through and answer these questions for yourself. I started doing this a decade ago. I do this every morning. These questions: what am I excited about today? What am I happy about? What brings me energy? And what does success look like today? Okay, 4 questions. Again, I'm going to give you a minute. Scribble your answers down, and then we will come back. All right, just under 30 seconds left. All right, we'll wrap it up. I'll give you a couple of examples for me. What am I excited about today? Genuinely excited about being here with all of you. It gets me excited to share these stories, and hopefully I can pay forward some lessons. What brings me energy? My family. I have a 3-year-old daughter. Absolutely brings me energy every day. Some podcasts that I listen to, I get excited about those, about learning about neuroscience, those nerdy kind of things. So those are some examples for me. So let's move to evening questions. All right. So this is how you bracket. What is the plan in the morning? And then how do you look back on how you did and how you can think about improving for the next day? So 2 questions. What are 2 good things that happened today? And this goes back to gratitude, some things I learned in Kilimanjaro. And then what is one thing you can improve today that would impact doing it better tomorrow? 2 questions. All right, I'm going to start the timer again, and we'll just go for 30 seconds this time. All right. So that question about what could I do better? I look at that as what is those 1 or 2% changes that you can think about if you make those changes every day, and I'll talk about this in a second, is that momentum swing upward and that annuity stream of learning that you can build yourself over time. And I want to head to the close with this. This is a Japanese runner. He started at the same time as our team, 8 o'clock in the morning. We finished about 7 o'clock in the evening. He ran all through the night in the pouring rain. He finished at 10 a.m. the next morning. 10 a.m., 26 hours he went to go 45 to 50 miles in order to finish this race. He had the perseverance, the grit. He had the vision. He really wanted it badly. And when he came in, all 250 of us that were in the camp went to the finish line and clapped him in. I have been one of those final runners before. We all know that the people that are out on course the longest are the ones that suffer the most. So we honor them when they come in. It's just an exhilarating moment. And I want to leave you with that ability to build that capacity over time. That was me. I was in the final 10 of one of these races previously. I slowly moved my capacity up over time in order to take on these races and be more successful. So capacity and time, really focusing on controlling what you can control. And when I was younger, it was that inconsistent practice, sporadic shifts of energy. I was not leveraging momentum. And as I've learned more of focusing daily and building those daily routines and those questions, those bookended questions that we talked about earlier, you have that ability to compound your growth over time and build that capacity and move up the chart to being farther along than maybe you are right now. Certainly where I was younger in my tenure. So this is the team. This is Ash on the right-hand side, Jesse in the middle, myself on the left-hand side, at least the way I'm viewing it. And we met in Iceland in 2013, and we built the bonds of trust in our tent in the pouring rain, some similar elements. And so we ran as a team, and we finished third in this race as a team. We all ran the same distance as everyone else, had to be within 25 meters of each other at all times, and could only run as fast as the slowest runner. So you can imagine, if someone has a bad day, what complications that brings. But it was such an amazing level of effort with our team that we tapped into all of our strengths and all of our routines in order to finish the way we did. And that's almost after a decade of running these things together. And so that individual growth, that team growth is there for each one of us with the right daily focus in order to get there. So let's go back to Terry. Terry saw crisis as an opportunity. Terry saw the ability to play the long game. He inspired me. He inspired so many people to invest and be able to build that capacity over time. And so with that, I want to leave you 2 questions to ponder for yourself. And the first one is, if you did not compare yourself to anyone else, what would you do and what would you create? And the second one is, how do you want to look back on how you showed up in 2021, or as you look forward, how you showed up in 2022? Thank you for the time to be with you. It's been a real honor, and have an amazing conference.